Hello everyone, welcome to Palia. It is a free-to-play life sim, Stardew Valley kind of game where you build a house, you plant some plants, and there's a lot of other little story-based things. There's some skilling, but today we're not going to do any of that. I want to show you some of my favorite out-of-bounds places in Palia and how I got there. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first and most striking thing to me about exploring this game is just these massive and pretty impressive gigantic mountainscapes that you see in the distance.
Wow.
If you do manage to climb up to the top of this ridge along here, which you can, the developers have blocked it off with little invisible boxes.
So I got you this box.
It's right above where you would climb up, so you cannot get up just by climbing.
Not in my house.
Oh yeah, I also forgot to mention what kind of tools we'll be working with here. Palia is really interesting because it has ledge climbing, just like in Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom or Genshin Impact at this point. And it also has a glider, just like in the aforementioned games. So oftentimes when it comes to finding spots that you're able to get out of, it's a matter of finding out where you think the developers put the least amount of effort into. So right around this corner here is the spot where I figured the developers probably may have left an oversight of some sort. Notice when I walk into the water, it respawns me. So let's say you're like me and you walk up and you try to climb around here. Oh, there's an invisible wall stopping me. Okay, I'll just walk around. Oh, I hit another invisible wall and I get teleported back. Nice and simple. What about these rocks? Can I climb on these rocks? So I can climb up here, and you'll notice they won't even let me stand up there. That's what I like to call a no-no surface. So, how are we going to be able to get around that invisible wall and potentially get somewhere we're not supposed to be? Well, if you, for example, climb up as high on the mountain as you can, just like I have now, and jump off, you're able to glide for a long time. And if you just go around the invisible wall and fly here to grab, we've actually found that that wall doesn't have any collision at all. So the really fun thing to me about being able to get out of bounds is that you actually get to learn a lot about how games are made in general. So one thing we'll learn about the way that this game is made is that we're only drawing one side of these rocks, and we haven't even bothered to make a bottom. Right? The bottom of the rocks is never going to be seen by a player, so why spend time drawing it, right? Every single thing in this game world is drawn on top of everything else. It's like painting over a painting over and over and over again. Another little fun detail right here is these big scenery pieces that act basically as just background filler, right? There's no detail on it, there's no collision, you can just walk right through it, and it's just meant to be in the way to make the world feel filled out. I found a couple interesting things exploring down here that I'd like to show you. Firstly, you get this really cool view of the water bottom layer not knowing how to render itself, which is pretty common. I don't know if I am going to be able to hit this on the first try because it's really foggy right now.
A normal person would have said, yep, that's an infinite hole right there, goes on forever till the end of time. Don't need to see it all, but not you. Oh, no, 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 no.
Well, while we're waiting for the time to change to a day where we can see what we're going for there, I'd like to take a second and talk a little bit about what I like to call undesigned spaces, rather than out of bounds, because it's obviously out of bounds, but it was never created with any specific intent, and it wasn't even curated in a specific way. If you're a fan of Any Austin and you know his Unremarkable and Odd Spaces videos, he will look at spaces that didn't quite get the treatment that the developers wanted.
What adds to the surreal feeling is how the scale is slightly different for each one. For some of them, the doorways are more than large enough to walk into, but for others, you wouldn't be able to get in without ducking. This is actually true of a lot of the buildings in this game if you pay attention. Compare an area like this mall to the beginning of the game, and it starts to feel like these are two separate games with two separate budgets and attentions to detail. But it's not. It's all one game with two worlds. A world of care and attention, and a world of semi-abandoned liminal spaces.
Being out of bounds does almost the opposite. This is a space that on purpose was not touched by the developers whatsoever. And so you get a very different vibe from being here. Like, It really does feel like we've left the calm, cozy town for like almost a desert, desolate wasteland here. Right in front of us over here, you'll see what I'm talking about. Now, this will be very interesting, and I'll probably have to take a screenshot of this and zoom in on it when we get there. But let's see what this is. Okay, as we get closer, we can see it's like some kind of poster for like an arcade game of some sort. The question is, what is that? And spoiler alert, I'll show you a little bit later, but first we want to get to the top of the mountain. So I've made it about halfway up, I would say. And part of the reason that this kind of gameplay is quite fun, at least to me, is just that it's a puzzle game that has never been played before, and you don't know if you can beat it. And you don't know what's coming next. Oh, I'm gonna jump on here. There's no collision there. So you have to be really careful about what you're doing and find systematic ways of being able to control what you're up to, otherwise you basically lose all progress. Luckily in this game, the unstuck button here just takes you back to wherever you were last standing for the most part, so it will actually teleport you out of bounds still, which is fun. Okay, there we go. I've just made it up on top, and might I say, the view looks incredible from up here.
Wow.
It is definitely a shame that the developers do not let you come up here by default, but I am happy that I'm able to get up here. So let's go ahead and get to a little bit of a higher spot and see what we've got going on here. Here we go. Here is the view from the top. Down there is where I was standing at the start of the video. You can explore over there, but it is exceptionally challenging. Most of that is unclimbable. And yeah, I just love being able to see the view from here, and certainly a part of it too is being able to see the reaction of other people, knowing that you're somewhere you're not supposed to be. But with that being said, there are not too many people running around this particular area at the moment. So let me go ahead and I'll show you what that little image we saw under the ground was. Here we are in the underground market. You'll see these areas are a little bit more populated, especially just because they're smaller. But right over here, if you look in this back corner right here, what is that? If nothing but a little character we saw, and that poster we saw. So it was actually an image, or even a screen, for this game that we're seeing right here. Now what doesn't quite make sense to me is the fact that that other map is through a different loading zone. So that image really doesn't have a reason for being there, unless they were planning on having arcade machines like this on that other map, but that ultimately is not the case. The other kind of cool thing I wanted to show you here are these tables, which people are not playing right now. Inside Palia, they have this mini game called Hot Pot. So these are huge hot pot tables, and as you can see, there's a lot of them. One of the interesting things that happens in this area with these in particular is, watch what happens if I try to jump on this. Nothing. There is some sort of cylinder. I'll make a little bit of a diagram here. The developers have put a cylinder around this block here, and who knows how high they've stretched the top of this cylinder to make the collision for this, right? Because when you're a developer, you want to cheat and be as lazy as possible, especially with things that take CPU space. So if there's one thing that we know about Hot Pot, is that it's Chinese. And since this is a very Chinese time in our lives,
Bad feng shui is being reset by this wheel right now.
we are certainly in luck that right now there is a Lunar New Year event happening in the game, and this just so happens to let us get on top of the hot pot tables and show us how high they are. So let me go ahead and show you how that works. So here we are at the Lunar New Year Festival. What I'd like you to notice is that we again have just a ton of these hot pot tables, but the difference being that they are underneath the bright blue sky. So what that means is there is an opportunity for us to figure out how to fly down on top of these. And a good place to do it is right up that big mountain right there. I'm feeling like I'm setting this up like a cooking show, but here we are at the top of the mountain, and all we're gonna do is just jump off and glide and see whether or not we collide with it or get above it. And then if we get above it, we might just get to learn a little something about the game. Ta-da! Here we go. We are now currently squatting, apparently, on top of the hotpot tables. And you can see the developers dragged this cylinder up really high. There's absolutely no way you could get on top of these in that underground area, but luckily for us, this area is pretty open. There is one more thing in this map that I think is pretty cool, and we're gonna get underneath the ground here.
I don't believe how broken this game is. Our player starts by scaling a massive mountain, but they aren't looking for a view. They're looking for a way out. They wedge themselves into this tiny mountain crack, and suddenly, they hit a standable surface that shouldn't exist. And look at that. The giraffe leg glitch is in full effect. Their characters' legs are stretched to the moon. With a full tank of stamina, they start climbing again, but the physics are getting even weirder. They take a leap of faith and deploy the glider, but it's a total minefield. Look closely. They're literally slamming into invisible walls midair while trying to navigate the map's boundary. They manage to grab onto one last glitchy rock face and scramble to the summit. After one last case of the giraffe legs, they look out over the edge. But they aren't done yet. They jump off the peak and glide toward the forbidden zone, finally landing on a massive neon green plateau. This is the raw developer terrain, the jagged, unpolished edge of the world where the devs test the ground. They've officially left the map behind. Would you explore this or stay where it's safe?
So check this out. We've actually hit the edge of the water, which allows us to just kind of go whoop and fall directly below it. Now we get to explore some other kind of fun places, but I also just love this underwater view that we have going on here. So you'll see just starting to peek out from underneath the rocks here is that dock we were standing at before. We have I'll pick up the pace a little bit here. We have our Lunar New Year area set up all above us. Everything on top of us. I think this is very cool, and it would only be cooler if I could emote down here and other people could see my tag or something. But I have a strong suspicion they cannot see us down here. Okay, I'm down here. Can I get out into the actual fishing area? Because the fishing areas in this game tend to be a little bit more closed off. Right past here is where you can start to fish, and just watch what happens here when we walk out. The game totally thinks that we're underwater and sends us right back over to the last standing position, which just happens to be underneath everything. This is very much unlike other unstuck buttons. It really does not care where you are. So I thought I would go full circle.
You're so fucking cooked, man!
By finishing off this video with a little game, a hot pot. Thank you everybody for watching. I hope that you enjoyed seeing some out of bounds places in Palia, and I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day. Oh, hold on, I gotta draw a card here. We want something new. I'll take that. Don't want that anymore. Anyways, yes, thank you for watching. If you like this, please make sure to check out my Substack, bitsandpixels.org. Go ahead, like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me some places that you have found or that you like in other games you want me to see, and other things of that nature. And I will catch you all in the next one.